And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. They were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by PRO14 Rugby, where we will attempt to deliver half-baked opinions served up as authoritative rugby analysis. Sean Holley, you're back in. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Well, why wouldn't I be good? I know we're going to get there, but I'll cut to the chase. You know, we're finding this tournament pretty easy, so we're all very relaxed here in Wales. And I've had a good weekend watching the PRO14 went up to Glasgow, so I feel like I'm coming back to reality a little bit. You know, so yeah, good. Thanks, mate.
Reality in Wales means just on the way to a Grand Slam. This is great. My name's Andy McGeady. We're going out live in the PRO14 social channels tonight. And that man, fresh off a 40th birthday celebration, is none other than Ryan Jones. How are you?
Very, very well, thanks both. Not overly fresh, I must admit, and I will be going to bed shortly after this finishes, with a 2-day hangover. That's what happens when you cross 40, right?
Happy birthday, buddy.
Where's my cake holster?
Well, I'm waiting to give it to you in person. We'll have to do it outside somewhere. I'll be over in the next few days, my good man, and we'll have a good chin wag and a bit of cake.
I look forward to it. Out in the open air.
Now we're talking. We've got plenty to run through tonight. We'll be talking Guinness PRO14. We'll be talking Six Nations rugby. We've got some of our regulars in now. Rugby Mum Glasgow Bruce. Hello. Mac. Ollie Hughes. Christian Hyde. How are you? Harley Worthy, another regular there. And we're going to go straight in with another guest. Ellis Jenkins is in the building. Ellis Jenkins on debut. How are you?
Hi lads, how's it going?
Looking cool as ever.
A very own megastar. Where's your guitar, Al?
In the corner, out of tune at the moment, so I'll be in there.
This is good. I was just looking at the private chat before I went in, and the first thing Ellis asked is this live? Yes, it is. Very much live. Second thing he asked is, so don't swear. That is, there's not an official party line on this, Ellis, but we usually play it fairly loose. But yeah, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. Bit sore after the game yesterday, but just sort of getting used to that feeling again.
We talked about you a couple of weeks back, and there was nice videos being put out by Cardiff and stuff like that. But how is it being back playing? Yeah,
it's good. I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, the one thing I haven't missed is getting your hands stood on and coming home from training with black eyes and stuff. But yeah, I really enjoy being back training, back playing, and yeah, hopefully can carry on.
Ryan, you've got a real mischievous look to you, Ryan.
No, I was actually thinking when I found out coming on around. Obviously, the last time you played would have been in front of a massive crowd. Now all of a sudden you've had this period off. Not only are you coming back to rugby, but there's no one there.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that like? That must be really surreal.
Yeah, it's strange. Obviously, I've come back into it, and I'm sort of saying to the boys, oh, it's rubbish. There's no atmosphere, and obviously they've been doing it for best part of a year now. Well, I guess since August time, really, with no crowd, so they're all used to it. And obviously, it's the first time I've done it. The first time I sort of really witnessed it was I was running water on against the Scarlets, and you sort of look around and it's bizarre. It's almost like it's like a training session. Sometimes we came up to Bristol a couple of times and trained, or you go to the Dragons and you do a post training sessions, and it's a little bit like that sometimes. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, it must be nice. I'd say it'd be good to go down the Scarlets and not get abused. I quite like that, I think.
Yeah, this is the same at Rodney Parade. It's the first time I've ever been to Rodney Parade, I think, and not been sworn at and shouted at from the sideline, which was nice.
Yeah, well, mate, I still get that, and I'm just commentating. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Well, I spoke to you a while back, mid rehab, whatever, and you were saying your knee was really hot, physically hot. You were frustrated, a couple of ops and that. But what's it like now after hard sessions, after games? Any reaction with it?
Yeah, it still takes a bit of looking after. I'm keeping the physios busy to sort of keep me on the pitch, and I have to do a lot of stuff, on my own before and after sessions, just to make sure everything's keep the muscles strong and make sure the flexibility stays and stuff. And obviously a lot of icing and stretching and stuff afterwards as well, just to make sure it stays healthy. So it's good. It's decent, but it still takes a lot of TLC to keep it going, really.
So I came down to the A game to commentate on the live stream, and right in front of me and Nick Williams, on about 15 minutes, you get into the first jackal position. Do you remember it? On the line?
Yeah.
And we both looked at each other across on the mic and sort of gone, oh, please. And then you win the turnover. I mean, psychologically, what was that like?
It was good. Obviously, it's something I didn't really, you don't really think about at the time. You're just sort of in, autopilot, and then probably standing up and walking away. I just thought, sort of, actually, that was the first competitive. Obviously, I've done a lot of it in training, sort of getting the right positions, but that's the first competitive sort of jackal really I've gone for since the one that injured me over 2 years ago. So it was good. It was a bit of like I say, it was nice to get that sort of psychological barrier out of the way. In a low key game, like no crowd. So it was nice to just sort of get out of the way and move on with it.
Has the game changed in those 2 years, mate?
Right, I thought my haircut was bad after all the barbers being shut, but you've just made me feel a bit better about myself.
I got a 2-day hangover, mate. I'm 15 years older than you.
Yeah. So yeah, it has changed. It's a lot more. Like the big thing at the moment is sort of the punishments for getting your tackle technique in particular wrong, or your arriving at breakdowns wrong. I mean, you see how many cards there are game to game, while the game is still transitioning, I guess, out of to try and become more protective of the players, which is obviously a great thing for the game, but it's just obviously taking a little bit of time to get used to for lots of the players. So that's one of the big ones. Ultimately, it's the same game it has been for years, really. There's different different attacking philosophies that sort of change a little bit over time, but generally it's about winning collisions and winning speed. Making the ball fast when you've got it and making it slow when the opposition have got it.
Well, I mean, the game's got easier for you because you've had 3 games back, 2 Player of the Match awards. What's a lot about?
Yeah, I know. It's just, I think that commentators must be feeling generous. They feel sorry for me maybe when picking it.
No, I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. What's a bit early days really to set too many goals, but have you set yourself some short-term, medium-term, long-term ones? I mean, I suppose the Rainbow Cup is a good thing for you. Warmer weather, more games this season, chance for you to get a run.
Yeah, we're still not too sure what's happening with that. Obviously, with the restrictions in South Africa and whatever, but it's great for us if the games, me in particular, the games go ahead, as they meant to. It's just for me, like on a goals point of view, like obviously I want to get back. I want to play for Wales again. It's something that's why everyone in Wales plays the game. Short term, it's just backing up training, backing up playing again, being able to train after playing on a Saturday, being able to train on a Monday, do my fitness session on a Tuesday that I need to progress in my performances. I've still got a fair bit of work to do physically, to get back, fitness wise and strength wise to where I need to be or where I want to be to play my best rugby. So short term, that would be my that's what I'm sort of focusing on at the moment.
We've got loads of nice comments coming in. Some of them aren't. Some of them are even from other teams. But Di Brownie says, like, you've never been away, Ellis. So happy to see you back, from a Blues fan. That's a nice one. There's some other ones there we'll get to. But another Di. All right, let's go. Kieran O'Callaghan, Munster and Irish fan here. Delighted to see Ellis back to full fitness after such a lengthy spell out with injury and ripping it with player of the match performances. How's life with Dai Young?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. He's coming. To be honest, he's observing a lot at the moment. I think any environment you go into mid-season, he's got to come in and sort of assess where the team is at, where the coaching setup's at. He doesn't say a huge amount, so he's, like I said, he's making decisions on people, and he'll have little bits of input here and there. But what he does say, he's very straight with you. He doesn't always tell people what they want to hear, but he's very very straight and honest. And when he does speak, he commands respect, and everyone listens. So he's like I said, he hasn't had he doesn't have a huge amount of input to the players anyway at the moment. He does, I know he does with the coaches, but I think he's biding his time to sort of get a feel for the place and make his mind up on people.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, what's the thing he's asked or told you so far that maybe it was hard to hear? Anything?
No. To be honest, he's been good to me. So he came in maybe 2 or 3 weeks before my first game. So he sat down and said, "Look, you're going in, but you're going in, and it's a friendly game against the Ospreys. You're playing half." He said, "I don't care how good you are, how bad you are. You're coming off half time, so don't bother arguing." He said, "I'm not expecting Ellis Jenkins the international." He said, "Just go out there, enjoy yourself, test your body out, see if you can, ask yourself the questions that you need to, or sort of answer the questions that you need to answer, and come off with a smile on your face," which was nice for me. It just sort of takes the pressure off a little bit. He said, "Look, you're not going to be captain." He said, "I want you to focus on playing rugby for the next couple of weeks, and you can build yourself into the sort of leadership role." He said, "But to begin with, just focus on yourself," and that's what I've tried to do. So he's been really helpful for me.
The video I mentioned that the Blues put out, like, it was fairly long and it's kind of emotional. What was it like for you watching it?
Emotional is probably the right word. It's amazing. Obviously, you take all these videos over time, and you've got evidence of what it was like and what I felt like and what I was sort of physically what I was able to do at certain points. But until you sort of watch it back, you forget very quickly. Like once you're back running and jumping and tackling people, you forget that there was a couple of months where you couldn't walk down the stairs. But yeah, lots of people have said, like, it's very sort of emotional, and it was quite a nice view into what it's like to sort of, everyone sees the games, and they see people get injured, and then 6 months later or 9 months later they see him come back, and it's like, oh great, he's back, but they don't see the in between, or the tough times that come in between. So lots of, especially people who've had injuries, like there's boys who've played for Leinster who said, look, I can resonate with it a little bit, with the injuries that they get, and they haven't got to go every day back into work and try and push through the pain if it's hurting. So yeah, it was a great reaction to the video. It was a nice video from the Blues as well, and something nice to look back on now. Now that I am back on the pitch.
Ellis, interesting listening to you about Dai Young there. He's been patient. He's got to get it right, I suppose. He wouldn't have taken the job unless he felt Cardiff Rugby could not challenge again. So for the Blues fans and the Cardiff fans that are on here now, what's it going to take, mate, for the Welsh regions, for the Cardiff Rugby now? What's it going to take next season with the South African teams in? Leinster, Munster just sailed away in the conferences. In your opinion, you come back now, you've seen the environment. What's it going to take for Welsh regions to challenge in the Guinness PRO14 again?
It's a tough question, Sean. I think it'll help. The sort of little bit of restructuring that's going on, and trying not to have league games on the same weekend as internationals. I think that'll help the regions a lot. I think lots of the regions are similar in that they're very strong when they've got their full team and their full internationals, and where they struggle is that sort of those periods, which at the moment is pretty much half the season, where your frontliners are away with Wales or away on international duty, and you're calling on your sort of second or third string, fourth string sometimes if there's injuries, players, and we just haven't been able to compete with especially the Irish teams in those periods. And then it's not a coincidence that every year the top of the league are the Irish teams who do the best in those periods. I think you look at when the Scarlets won the league, the team that they had during those periods is full of now internationals. They had boys there who maybe had just come on the scene and who were playing, just sort of breaking through, and were probably 18 months or 6 months to 18 months off being full internationals. You had John Barkley there in the back row. You had Tide Byrne, who he's signed off an academy contract, and now he's he's picking up man of the matches for Ireland. And I think they hit a very good time where they had lots of players who were outperforming, or they were punching above their weight, or they punching above their standing in the game at that time, and who've now gone on to bigger and better things.
I think Ellis is right. I think Ellis is right there, Sean. I think Welsh rugby and actually UK rugby needs a strong competitive Cardiff, doesn't it? Capital city, with all the history and heritage, I think it's fantastic. To see them with the aspiration that they've got. I think Ellis is right in the modern game, and requires a strength in depth that I think everyone across the game is actually struggling with it at times in the current economic climate, to be genuinely competitive, match in, match out. As Ellis said there, I think, and there's a natural tension in some of the teams and squads around development versus performance. You have to expose players to high level competition at a time that's appropriate to them, though. That's the bit I think that often gets missed. It's quite often a circumstance driven decision. You've got to play because players X, Y, and Z are injured, so might not be ready. But I think we overexpose players or too many. It's great having, Sean, as you'll know, when you were coach, it was Richard Ibbott developed this craft between Adam and Duncan Jones, or Adam and Paul James. You're Justin Tippering learned his craft off Mai Holler, Steve Tandy, and the likes. As Ellis is, you'd have been through the system with Nugget and people like that, and it's learning a craft, isn't it, day to day, and people like that, and then having the development time when it's right, and getting that right, which is what I think. Knowing Alan and Dickie at the Blues, that's what they're trying to establish now with that long-term vision. This to get strong requires a real long-term look at it, I think.
Do you know what's going to help Cardiff Blues or Cardiff Rugby do very well next season? Having Ellis Jenkins back. That's probably going to help quite a lot. Ellis, I think we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for your time on the show. I know even just a selection of comments there that are coming through, people really like seeing you back. Appreciate what you went through. Thanks for your time tonight.
Cheers, Elbite.
Cheers, boys.
All the best, mate.
Well, Ellis Jenkins, back on the pitch, on the show.
Lovely boy.
Sean, that was great.
Lovely boy. He comes across really well, and he's developed in that facet off the field, but on the field, he's a brilliant player. And that game, he was just announced man of the match against South Africa, the next world champions, as Ryan said, in front of 80,000. The world's your lobster, isn't it? And then bang, But to come back the way he has, and he can say tongue-in-cheek as commentators giving him the man. We don't give man of the matches easily or lightly. It's you spend 70 minutes really looking and struggling to find the right person, and he deserved it them. And only better he's going to get, Ryan.
Yeah, he's going to get, having experienced long periods out of the game, it takes a while to get really back into it, but I think Sean, his superpower is his character. He's got a really steel core to him. He comes across very softly spoken, but he's real tough, and I know he's great for the environment as well. The Blues are, as you rightly acknowledged, they're better for having him in the squad because he does bring a composure. He understands the game superbly, he reads it really well. You don't put in performances like he did just by accident and pure grit. He knows the game. He understands it. So, what it does produce is one hell of a headache for Pivac and the team because, where does he sit within that squad now? What position is he going to play? Yeah, that's the other thing. So, it's great to have him back though.
Right. So let's rip straight in to the Guinness Pro14 action for the weekend. So we did see another Ellis Jenkins player of the match. 29-14 win out in Italy for the Cardiff Blues. We're not going to drain that game because we had Ellis. That's all we needed. Let's go back through. Another game in Italy. Leinster 48, Zebre 31. There were many, many tries in this game.
Try first.
Yeah.
Well, again, there's a couple of things in this. One, we roll our eyes at the Leinster depth, but Dave Carney, 3 tries, roll back the years, and they're not run-ins. Look at those,
and the camera work. What a camera!
The cameraman was going with him. We're going to see it again. Adam's just delighted with this. Look at this. They keep it alive, support play. Look at that pass. Look at the cameraman. He's backpedaling here, and he still gets it in. It's amazing camera work. We criticize Italian broadcasting and all of that, but that is top end. It's Serie A.
Whoever he is, that fella or girl needs a raise because they have done. It's brilliant. It's genuinely fantastic. I'm not taking the mick.
There's Zebra defenders tumbling into touch. There's a touch judge slowing down so he doesn't run into the cameraman because there he is. Look, brilliant. He's even got a white T-shirt on. Fantastic. Well, but no.
The key to pro rugby, Holster, as you always say, with coach's next job. So he wasn't happy with the backpedaling and the capturing the moment. He was on to the celebration. He's on the kick. That is top camera
focus, mate. Do next. Do next. That's that cameraman. Sign him up. But as far as the Leinster chug on 7 tries, but Zebra in defeat showed a lot of resilience. They've really performed for me the last couple of weeks, and it's really good to see. Benetton have had a nasty start to the season, lose their coach, but they'll come back strong with Gustard and co, and they've been close. But Zebra are the ones to watch. They miss a lot of players, but the young players are blooding now. Leinster, what can I say? Dan Sheehan, the hooker. It's ridiculous. There's a factory, Ryan, in Dublin, next to the Guinness factory, right, that is producing hookers. It's ridiculous. This kid, you want to see him, Dan Sheehan. What our next World Cup for me, he'd be the #1 island hooker, and that's a hell of a thing to say. With the hookers that are in front now, there'll be Irish fans screaming on the comment section. But this kid, he got 2 tries, he got 18 carries, he's dynamic, explosive, and all of a sudden, we've been talking about Scott Penny, who again was brilliant. Frawley, O'Brien, any number of Burns and Tracy's and bloody Keenans. And then this kid comes along. It's ridiculous. It's like watching a superhero movie, Avengers assemble, and then there's a new superhero. Got big D on his chest. It's Dan Sheehan. Watch out for him.
It's great to watch. I have to say, there was one more moment of the match which I really enjoyed and watched a couple of times. The final Leinster try where Harry Byrne takes the quick tap from midfield. And if you watch the replay again and again, as he's got his speedsters out to the left, you see the way the Zebre are lining up. And there's one big forward there who's still walking towards the other corner of the pitch where you think Harry Byrne's going to kick to. And the play is going and he looks around and he's like, oh, bollocks. It's classic. It's brilliant. It's straight out of junior rugby. I could watch it all day long. We'll move on. Go on.
let's be clear now. Only you and I watch replays of Zebra over and over and over, right?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, slow down.
Particularly looking at what forwards are doing while backs are scoring tries is amazing. I used to play with a prop, Andrew Millwood, he was just coming right to the end of his career when I started. And this is a guy who the camera cut to once at a Christmas derby. He was on the bench and he was eating a mince pie. And but anyway, the reason I remember him pulling me aside one day in my first year at the Ospreys, and he said to me, he said, "Look, you're expending too much energy chasing lost causes." He said, "Take a leaf out of my book. Anticipate and walk the way you think the next set piece is going to be, irrespective of what's going on."
That's how very smart forwards stay in the game a long time. Let's get to somewhere where Holley was actually earning a paycheck. Glasgow Warriors 30, Ospreys 25.
What a game!
It looked a touch damp.
Yeah, but it came in fits and starts. So at this point now, it's quite early on that we'd had a snow shower, hail shower before, and then intermittently through the game, it didn't affect the quality of the game. It was brilliant, and there was jeopardy on this game because had the Ospreys won, they would have secured European Champions Cup status. Glasgow win, they remain in the hand because they got a game in hand over them, and the Ospreys started really well off the back of Glasgow also being poor. And on paper, and Ryan will tell you this, they were fielding 18-year-old Joe Hawkins, 19-year-old Gavin Phillips first start, Rhys Henry off the bench first start in pro rugby, moving some of the back rowers, Rhys Davis at the second row, 22, Will Griffiths, 22 at 6. Glasgow similarly feeling a young side. But the Ospreys started really well. And you had a game on your hands, you really did. And then this happens. Through goes Dan Evans. You think, for all no love, no money. Who does it fall to? But the fourth quickest guy on the field, Lee Jones, 32-year-old winger. I thought his hamstrings were going to go as he was getting caught. And that's Will Griffiths on the right. There, the 6 was behind him. He chased him all the way. I like what I see in some of these young Osprey forwards, but that was a killer blow. But it did go down to the wire in the end. It was a brilliant game. John Barkley and I were commentating. We really enjoyed it because the Ospreys came back. There's Rhys Davis latching on. There's young Rhys Henry, 17. These guys haven't played any rugby. And they give it a hell of a go, and it went down to the wire. I'm a big mate of Danny Wilson's, as is Ryan. I'm obviously, a former Osprey coach, and I'm also a big mate of Toby Booth. I was sort of hoping for a bit of a draw, but it didn't pan out that way, unfortunately. If
you're a Glasgow fan, this kind of play here makes you very excited about the future.
That's the moment of the match. This guy was brilliant, Rufus McLean, right? He's been training with Scotland all week. Danny told me he just did the team run. He caught every Glasgow kickoff. He just took it in the air away from the second rows. That finish off Thompson's beautiful. That's almost like you could be playing for Stephen Gerrard for Rangers. He just dinks it in there, get a bit of luck, it bounces up, but you make your own luck. There's some high skill, some good youngsters on show in the Guinness PRO14 at the moment, and that's one of the benefits Ellis is saying about, at the moment they're missing internationals, but the benefits we're going to get from the competition is there's some youngsters having to play at the moment, getting experience, who will come through, right? Yeah,
it was interesting. Ireland, I spent some time with David Nucifora, and he would say Ireland are quite keen to keep domestic competition rugby at the same time as national rugby, because they see it as a real asset. They see it as a real development opportunity for, like you say, that factory they've got in Dublin, where they've got seem to have a wealth of talent, not just the hooker holster, all over the place.
Yeah.
So they want to. They're really keen. So they've got this natural sort of difference then in probably showing where those domestic teams are compared to each other, how confident they are in their processes and their squads, and versus some who are just sort of desperate for points and a win and sustainability. But yeah, it's an interesting debate.
We'll move on to one of those Irish provinces. Munster 28, Scarlets 10, and that 10 was only achieved with the very last thing of the game. So we won't dwell on it. But welcome back, Joey Carberry. We've seen a couple of appearances off the bench. He started this game and he nailed it. I mean, he absolutely nailed it.
X Factor, man. And there's X Factor going over the line there. He makes my team of the week again. Gavin Coombs. I mean, it's not long before we see him regularly in an Ireland shirt. He just does this week in, week out. He's like a young Scott Quinnell. He's a tank. I was going to say Axel Foley, but sorry to Ax. He's potentially better, but here he is, X Factor man, and this is what they've missed, in my opinion. As good as young Ben Healy's going to be, and as good as JJ Hanrahan is kicking for the post, this guy's got X Factor. He's got silky skill. It reminds me, I've said this before, it reminds me of Hooky. You see James Hook run in there, the elusive sort of step and movement, creative. Reminds me very much of Hooky, but he's back, and it's good for Ireland as well. I think Sexton all of a sudden has gone up a gear, and then you always get this with Munster. So not a lot a routine Munster win, I'd say. And
yeah, I think we're not going to dwell on this one. We might dwell on the next one for a minute. Connacht 14, Edinburgh 15, because if you're a Connacht fan, you would be absolutely gutted about what happened in this game. So you've got a Jared Butler red card, and it's like these days, shoulder to the head. It wasn't a passive tackle. He's gone. Like as soon as they started putting that up on screen, he was gone. But Connacht led 14-5 at home, and you can't be doing that.
14-5 for ages, and red card. Ryan will tell you he's worked in high performance. The thing is now, you have a protocol. You have a what's the word I'm looking for, right? Framework, and that's been almost not rationalized, but made it more clear recently by World Rugby, hasn't it? That and with the TV angles and the mitigation or not mitigation, some things are pretty clear cut now. And it's going to cost you games. And that's the cool idea, Ryan, isn't it? That's the whole idea of changing behaviour.
Yeah, they have to. It was the same with the tip tackle and the contact in the air. I remember when both of those changes came in. Tip tackle, we lost a World Cup semi-final because of it. And, again, the challenge in the air. But to make fundamental behavioural change, they've got to be really explicit with their expectations, which they have. As a player on the field now, you know what you can and can't get away with. So ignorance is no defence. You have to take responsibility and ownership for your actions on the field. Don't expose yourself to it. I thought Dan Bigger on the weekend, which we'll come on to later, was lucky. You just don't leave yourself exposed. You have to take ownership as players.
No, you're bang on. We'll definitely bring up that one. But when we get into the very end game of this, I think Edinburgh deserve a huge amount of credit, and especially Chamberlain, what I finished 20 years old, spots the gap, goes for it, and it's one of those players where suddenly on a very heavy pitch, he's moving faster than everybody else. Yeah, you can see the defenders go, "Oh no."
The thing is, you got to make you make that decision. You got to score. You get tackled.
He's on his own.
Exactly. You get tackled and then somebody's over the ball, you lose the game. But hey, he's got there, fair play. And that's a typical Cockers team finish, really, isn't it? Well,
it is. But the one thing there's things that happen earlier on in your career, and there's a very talented youngster right now in Connacht called Oran McNulty, and he came on in this game, and with about 5 seconds to go, Edinburgh had the ball, and then the ball spilled, and McNulty picked up the ball and started herring down the pitch towards the Edinburgh line, and he got isolated, and they couldn't get there in time. Turnover penalty. 3 minutes later, game lost. Now, that's a big learning opportunity for a young kid, but it's a rough one at the same time. But listen, good luck, pal. Your time will come, and well done on playing your proper debut in professional rugby, because that's the big one. Dragons 22, Ulster 26. This got a lot more fun than it should have been at one point in this game, Sean.
It did, and do you know what? The pitch helped. I know I'm not having a pop at Rodney Parade, but they've taken this to the Principality Stadium now because the pitch is in a state. This was there was loads of good games on the weekend, the Guinness PRO14. Stockdale, timely reminder, hello, I'm here, I'm still around, I'm coming back to form. most meters made some like 185 meters on the stadium. Albie Mathis would benefiting then from Stockdale's assist. And Ulster, you felt they picked a strong team. It was their last regular season game. I looked at the Dragons and I'm thinking, oh, after 30 minutes, this could get really ugly. McCloskey with a trademark over the top offload. This kid, I watched him in the under-20s World Cup when it was with Ryan out in Argentina. He played for Ireland, was good out there, and he was excellent. He's one of my players of the week in the backs. He was really, really good. He sniffs an opportunity. This we know Ulster have up their sleeve. John Andrew, if you're an Ulster hooker, I've been negotiating with my agent for bonus money for tries because they score ridiculous amount of these tries. And now if you look at the score and the time, Dragons' yellow card is 19-3. You think for all love and money, this is going to be a 40-pointer. But do you know what? They've got something, the Dragons. They're not hitting it yet, but they've got something, and Dean is working at it. And they're not that far away. I think they need some confidence. They're starting to play in the wide channels, which can cause this sort of thing. But against the Ospreys,
the interception, it was just a horrible intercept because it almost looks like he gets handed the ball.
It's almost like it gets past. Horrible. Yeah, but you live and die by the sword in that. But the Dragons the week before in those areas were scoring tries against the Ospreys, and as we're about to see for the listeners, the Dragons came back from 26-10 or whatever it was. Yeah, 26-10. They scored 2 tries at the end and could have won it, So, I like this kid, Rio Dyer, Ryan. See much of him?
Yeah, this is a kid with real talent, He's got the raw ingredients of something really, really exciting. He's got unbelievable gas. But just picking up on a couple of things you said there, with Jamie Roberts yesterday, and he said there's a bit of a frustration. They're working really, really hard for points in each other, and they've, as you said, they've got something, and he genuinely believes that. But he said they just ship in too many easy points, So they're working so hard in both attack and defence, and then all of a sudden it's the old coach killer, mate, isn't it? They're just not for the want of trying. It's just the execution piece, and it's really tough then because you deal with disappointment, and it all sort of gets on top of you then, doesn't it? Instead of having the bounce of the ball, the decisions tend to go against you. But yeah,
how was Jamie? Was this a birthday hangover breakfast? Was it?
No. He did some stuff. He's over the moon. Actually, just signed he had a hell of a week, didn't he? Last week, he signed a new 1-year contract with the Dragons, and he got his degree, whichever second, third, fourth degree or whatever.
Masters of philosophical medicine from Cambridge. We all got one of them, haven't we?
Obviously, yeah. Easy, standard. Let's have a look at. Oh yeah, we can't let this go by. So this photo of very large and very small Ulster men. They look like a father and son menaced on a fishing trip by a bear. Whoever did that, well done, my friend. Fantastic. Let's look at the fixtures coming up this weekend very, very quickly, and then we'll look at the tables. Friday night coming. Munster Benetton, Ulster Zebre, Leinster Ospreys. Good luck to the away teams in those games, I think. Then we move on to we have Saturday off, thank God, because there's some other rugby going on then, which we'll get to. Sunday, March 21st, Dragons against Glasgow. Where is that game? That's moved to the Prince
Stadium?
Also?
On the course, it becomes now Warriors need a 5-pointer, really.
Yep. And then we move on to Monday, Scarlets, Connacht, and Cardiff Blues against Edinburgh. They could be 2 very tight games.
Tune in on Monday at Park Scarlets for expert commentary from Sean Holley.
Shameless. Confra, we do the tables. And one thing before we get here, when you look at these tables here, let's get something out which is very clear. We don't know right now if it's going to be top 3 or top 4 for Europe next year because ECPR have not told us yet. Once that happens, then you know how many are going through. So do you know what? I actually feel for the coaches and for some of the players when you get into some of the end games, but all they can do is play what is in front of them. Tables, Conference A. Leinster, 15, 70 points. We talked about them. Ulster, 15, 59. And then we get into the interesting ones now. Ospreys played 15, 32. Glasgow Warriors, 14. So that extra game in hand is vital. 25 points. Dragons, 14, 21 points. Zebre played 15 with 17. 4 wins for Zebre this season, which is not to be sniffed at. Conference B. Munster already in the final with 59 points from their 15 games. Connacht, 43 points with their 15. 34 points for the Scarlets, but in fourth, hot behind 31 points of the Cardiff Blues. Edinburgh, 13 games, so 2 games in hand on the teams above them, 24 points. Benetton, 0 for 13 this season. It has not been a good year. Some bright points, some bright sparks, but not a good year. We move on. We move on to Six Nations rugby. There were some games. There was a training session in Italy, which is how I will describe that game. It was a really odd one to watch. Bonus point inside the half hour, Ryan. Job done quickly.
Yeah, it was job done, but you and R over whether it was a good thing for Wales a week out from what is a Grand Slam decider, or whether it wasn't. Now, there's elements in there that were setting the team up for next week. The moves they play, the moves they ran were training ground moves. It was great to see some first phase attacking, but Holster will know as well as I do. With you know full well the opposition are watching really closely. They will have set France up for something. So you see, wait to see the different takes, different nuances off the same plays next week. So the one where George goes through and scores is obviously going to go out the back next week, and they're going to have all complementary plays. Knowing Steve, Italy were rubbish. Let's not wrap it up too much either. That was really, really poor performance by them. They'll be bitterly disappointed in it. But I did see some really good stuff in Wales. It was great to see them. Actually, when they were dominant up front, I thought there was a maturity to how they then executed that. You really starting to see the benefit of John Humphreys in there. I think the attention to detail, line out, scrum. We're not talking about the set piece disaster of the autumn anymore. And it was a really solid, comprehensive performance. We're not having a debate about Dan Biggar. I thought he was excellent. His game management was superb. He put a kick in on 30 minutes, was as good as you'll see anyone in the world do. They play rugby in the right areas. We as commentators and TV production companies and stuff, producers put all these wonderful stats up on the field, on the screen. None of it matters other than where the game is played. So it doesn't matter what your possession is and all this. It's all nice for us to talk about. Your discipline and areas of the field are the only two stats that matter. And I think if anything's shown that this campaign, it really is the games on the weekend. I think the other thing worth talking about, and I know we'll come on to after, is refereeing. I thought the games on the weekend were refereed really, really well. We give referees enough shit, and I think we also do a duty to them when they do it really well across all the games on the weekend. Again, we talked around the rules should be changed, and we should change the kicking laws because kicking's killing the game and all this. There's nothing wrong with the laws of our game when it played and interpreted, and the way we saw on the weekend. I thought it was fantastic. I thought we really did think it was a weekend to be proud of. I think it showed Northern Hemisphere rugby and the Six Nations in a great light.
Kieran O'Callaghan takes issue, because we are an open church here. TMO decisions in the Six Nations restored the credibility of the process. Sorry, not take issue, backs you up, absolutely. There were 2 interesting ones. We'll get on to the I told you one later. I didn't think the TMO got that one right. I thought that Josh Adams got the ball down.
I didn't see.
I thought when he crashes across the line, the ball goes down for me immediately on that point. And then, there's an arm underneath. But that's really interesting now.
No, I think he, unfortunately, his momentum took him to a place he couldn't get back from. I thought, I thought at the time, Josh, what? That's a strange one. And listening to Shane on commentary, then sort of backed it up. But the Itoji one, I think sorry, the professionals disagree with that. The Itoji one is interesting. It's interesting because the commentators were talking about the grass was longer, so they were fortunate to hit the blade of grass. I wasn't convinced with that one either. I got to be honest.
Interesting. What about you, Ryan? Let's do it now. The Itoji one. Did you think try, no try?
Do you know what? Me personally, I thought it was a try, but it's What I do love about it, right? I love the debate. This is what sport is about. Sport would be boring if it was clinical. We love to be on the receiving end of poor decisions. We love to be, we just love it. I love the controversy of it. My interesting thing we talked about yesterday, actually, with a couple of friends. I'd love someone somewhere on the internet has got to go through historic tries that were given that weren't tries based on things like their arm was underneath it. They didn't actually. I'd love to see some of those tries that we talk around to be the best ever. I guarantee won't actually have been scored when we go to the sort of, the definition of it.
There was one a couple of years ago in the Premiership, and I think it might have been. I don't know why Northampton's in my head, but it might have been. And the player scored it, but when a player dives across the line and they've got the ball like this, tucked up against their chest, and it was disallowed afterwards because they said the ball had never actually touched the ground. And I was like, wow, in 100 years beforehand, that is always given as a try. It's really interesting. I think you got a point. Sean, what do Wales take from this game?
They take. What do they take? I agree with Ryan. I'm a big John Humphreys fan. We worked with him a long time, and I'm so pleased the true stuff's coming through. Cream comes to the top. So that's a big work on that has come to fruition for me. The set piece. France can't go into that game assuming anything in the set piece now. What else you get from it? Dan Biggar is the starting 10 for Wales. That's 100% nailed on. But Callum Sheedy does a good job coming off the bench. I think he made his substitutions earlier than he will on Saturday, but for a reason, protecting some of the boys. I think it disrupted the flow of the games. We didn't score a try for the last 16 minutes or something, or a point even. So that tells you something. But it also reinforced, Andy, if you're asking about some statistics, right, that are important for me, are Wales are the most clinical side when entering the 22 in the Six Nations. Now, we know from our Guinness PRO14 work that is an indicator. Leinster are by far and away the best at executing when they're in 22 entries. Wales are the highest. Now, it was only not so long ago we were the worst at that. And this is something that maybe Wayne Peacock, Stephen Jones's coaching team have brought a bit of a clinical edge. We're scoring a lot of tries. So long may it continue.
Before we leave this game, Ollie Hughes coming in. Honestly, that Tompkins break and then switch to Holmes for the try belongs in a museum. It was that beautiful.
That's the Dragons, the Dragons. Well, two boys who've been in the squad, but can't get looking at the moment, which tells you something about how Wales are playing.
Let's pick up one last thing from this game. Dan Biggar was a lucky man, Ryan Jones.
Yeah, I think he was. Again, I think it was a 50-50. I think he's caught his jersey, isn't he, before he's hit him in the chops, and I think he got lucky on the slow-mo, But again, it's poor tackle technique. He has to take. Why put yourself at risk? That's what you can't do, And again. Wales will put France under enormous pressure just by purely being disciplined. If Wales can stay in the arm wrestle, I think they'll come out on top. The concern would be if France start the way they did, and I'm not sure Wales can live with that. And are they capable of genuinely chasing a game when the pressure's off? If France get everything right, but if France give Wales the platform of real discipline. I think Wales will be too strong, too disciplined, too organised, and won't give France an in.
Do you know what, right? You tell me, me and you, we worked together a long time. I felt on the weekend that both France and Scotland suffered a little bit from that missing weekend they had called off. So they'd gone a weekend and an extra week without playing, and it just cost France a little bit, and it just cost Scotland a little bit. So and I know they've had that game now. That Scotland had a tough game, France had a tough game. They're coming battle hardened now, whereas I just felt our game was a little bit easy. I'm a little bit worried about that, but France will bring the best out in us. Hopefully, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think the selection that Pivac went for against Italy was reflective of that very point, and the fact he didn't make sweeping changes. If that game had been round 2, I think we'd see a very different team play Italy. He's fully aware now that France have had an extra rest week. They've got very much got the sort of cobwebs out of the system last week, and they're going to be fully loaded, ready to go this weekend. So, he went for continuity. I don't think there are going to be any changes to the team actually this weekend. I think he'll start again. I think the boys warranted. They did enough. There's a debate around Adam Beard versus Corey Hill, maybe, but outside of that, I think it'll be the same. So, I think France will be better, but it's just can Wales stay in the arm wrestle, put France under pressure for a prolonged period? If they can do that, I genuinely think France will crack. The worry you have with this French team is if they get their tails up and their points up.
Yeah,
it could be
we can't afford a yellow card. We haven't had one, right? And we cannot afford a yellow card against this lot.
Lads, you're due a couple of reds. Never mind yellows based on this championship. Right?
Harley Worthy disallowed on the weekend. Come on.
Harley Worthy's chipping in. Don't worry, Ryan. Mellon will have given Biggs the right amount of grief for that one. You'd hope so. You'd hope so.
I'm rightly so.
Let's move on to France. France narrow losers in Twickenham. A very, very good game of rugby. It had a lot. It started and ended with Antoine Dupont for different reasons. There was a glorious try off a set piece for France. There was controversy around the TMO and the Atoja try. It had a lot of good things. Sean, the one thing that I was looking back in this game, I think people maybe forget that England were the favourites for this game.
Yes, but I think again you've seen a French team that Ryan and I know have been bubbling around for 2-3 years with their under-20s teams, and their names now that your average rugby supporter wouldn't have heard of pre-Six Nations are becoming household names, i.e. Doulan, the fullback. My God, what is he, 5'9"? Everybody pumps the ball in the air to him. He takes everything. He counter-attacks. Got a magic set of feet to kick the ball. Jalibert. We were all talking about Ntamak. Jalibert. Hello. One of the players of the tournament. Dupont, people weren't, too aware of if you were an average rugby fan. Aldrit, the 8. They just roll off the tongue now. Christian Bailly, the loose head, was like, he's one of the best players on the field, best footballers on the field. So that's something with France. Do you know what I've noticed over the weekend is that we know England are capable of being a decent side, right? But this is the slight difference between us, and I include you, McGeady, in this. All the talk after England have won was about how they're going to win the 2023 World Cup. It was all about that. I'm like, hang on, you've lost twice. You've got a game to go, and all of a sudden we're fast forwarding how they're going to beat France in the 2023 World Cup and win that. I'm like, come on, get over yourselves for God's sake. But France are great. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, France are box office. They did more really interesting things in this game. Their lineout's still bad. But their defense is good. People like Ficou's been around for such a long time, Ryan. I think we're seeing the complete package now. Like he can do a little bit of everything brilliantly across the back line.
Yeah, I think they're using him better. I think that, and I think we've seen a more complete French team. They're capable now of mixing. As you said, I loved the creativity on the weekend. I loved across all the games really. The attacking intent from first phase was superb. I can't pinpoint it, but it seems to be more space. Teams are transitioning quicker from defence to attack. They're getting the ball wider quicker. Seem to be getting more high numbers versus low numbers. Those one-on-ones. The support lines seem to be better. People aren't arriving at breakdowns now and burying their heads anymore. We're looking for that because it's probably down to the breakdown, isn't it? Less of a contest, and referees are letting the speed of ball seems quicker, and the game just seems to have opened up. But the worry for anyone team playing France is they can do it all. Like there's threats across the field, and they're not just individual threats; they're unit threats. You talk around France's line out as creep, but that can be put right. That's not because they're not capable of having a good line out, or they don't have good line out forwards or whatever. It's like a process error, and that'll come over time and experience. It is still relatively young, and and the pressure that they're operating under. Things like that are better playing week to week, as Sean said. It's areas like that may creep, but. You look, they're used to mixing it up front. They've got box office players. They've got players who can create something out of nothing. Like, you're going into a test match like that, you're kicking off, and you're just thinking, we got a handful here for 80 minutes because you don't know where the threat's coming. It's the only other team like that I like him. It was like the All Blacks. They quite happily, they'll do anything with you and against you. And it is a nightmare scenario when you're preparing for it, when you're in the midst of it, because you just don't know where the threat's going to come from.
Do you know who the ref is? Do we know who the referee is?
No, I was just going to ask that.
Because it makes, right, isn't it, for a hell of a game. You think back to 2008, Shane scoring to beat the record, win the Grand Slam. The fact that they got something on it, I hate it. It's going to be a hard sort of stop in 80 minutes. It's Luke Pearce, is it?
I don't know. We haven't talked about angry face Sean Edwards yet either, in the talk about France Wales as well. That usually comes up, but you've got all the ingredients, mate. It
has, yeah. It's Luke Pearce. I trust Harley Worthy. He's a knowledgeable guy, old Harley. So, Luke Pearce was born in Wales, so there you go.
Luke Pearce with Matthew Carley and Christoph Ridley on the lines. TMO. TMO. What if you wanted a man with a good legal mind to be TMO for this crucial game?
Wayne Barnes.
Bingo. Yeah. Had to get an extra tall set of headphones for him as well.
Brian Moore.
I did a thing for Brian's we can mention other podcasts. His podcast today went on, and he said to me, "So Sean, his first question now, this is on his podcast. He said, Sean, what's it feel like to have a shithouse Grand Slam?"
and it will be. The only way it can get more shithouse is if somehow France-Scotland isn't played and they award Scotland all the points. Right, that would make it even more shithouse.
See, right, this is where the true colours come out now, right? By hook or by crook, you win a Grand Slam, you deserve it.
My favourite stat of this weekend, if Wales were to win the Grand Slam, is Alan Wynne-Jones will have more Six Nations Grand Slams than Ireland and England put together.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I hate everything Welsh right now. This has been weeks of, we had St. David's Day, everyone's happy Welsh daffodils, and now I've got 2 years, I had 3 years as well on the show. My God, there's the danger money coming into this. We have a couple, I suppose, one other note. We talked with the Itoje incident. Did the knock on right at the end? That didn't go forwards, gentlemen. That absolutely went back. We see them given because a referee will just give the knock on. I completely get it. I'm really looking forward to Wales-France next Saturday. France, at the moment, 7 points favourites according to the people putting money through the various bookies. 8 o'clock kickoff in Paris. Scotland-France is still to be rearranged. Before we get to Scotland-Ireland, if you have any questions for Ryan while he's on, now's your time to get them in. And super producer Adam Redmond in the background will be picking through some of the best for the end of the show. Ryan, I hope that's okay because we didn't ask you, but we're doing it.
Oh no, you've got to do it.
Kind of, yeah. Scotland 24, Ireland 27. Do you know what? I'm an Irishman. I'm an Irish rugby fan. I didn't enjoy this game. Wasn't very enjoyable. I kind of tuned out. This is going to seem really weird to admit. It's a God's honest truth. It was that first half was just error central. Maybe I'm just depressed because of all this Welsh stuff, Sean.
Oh man, yeah, it's like that though. But as a neutral, I enjoyed it. It's still a Six Nations game, I do get frustrated in Scotland. I really do. I think every year it seems to be we hear it. Scotland, well coached, got a good team, world class players. There's now going to be 7 in the Lions team. They beat England, and then the real Scotland shows up for the rest of the tournament. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And I was watching it and thinking, Finn Russell at outside half for the Lions. Excuse me, come on, you can't. It doesn't compare. You're looking at consistency and honesty and playing in the right areas. And yeah, he's a great player. He's a mercurial player and this, that, and the other. But I don't see it. I don't see it at that level. I'm sorry. And again, it came through, didn't it? Ireland just went about a workman-like performance to secure the win in the end. That's how I'd sum it up.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would say it was a very Irish performance, particularly second half. And I thought probably only one winner. I agree with Sean on Scotland, frustrating as hell. You talked earlier in the show about playing rugby in the right areas. We've been playing amazing stuff on your own 40-metre line, but it doesn't matter. And if I was coaching a defence against someone, would say, just hold off them, let them do whatever they're going to do, and then smash them as they approach the line, because it's not threatening. Again, on the bit that summed it up for me, was it with 90-odd seconds left on the clock? I think it was Finn Russell put a chip for himself from 60 yards out to turn the ball over. It's game over. That's not smart. It's not wise. You've got to play and understand the context of the game, the scoreboard, the weather, the ascendancy of the opposition. All of these factors play in, and I just don't see it. Yes, they're capable of hurting you because they've got some fantastic players and they can create. But crikey, you won't win the Six Nations. Playing rugby in the wrong areas, playing probably without. They've got no pattern. It's great and it's pretty and all that, but you need an element of structure and composure. That's what wins you championships.
Isn't it nice that somebody who's won 3 Grand Slams say the similar things that I say? I wish Paul Williams was on here, because it would just strengthen my argument. Pro14 came out with a great comment there. This Ryan Jones guy is great. Can he replace Paul Williams, please? I think that's a. Thank you, Pro14, for writing in. I think it's a real valid point.
Pro14 Rugby are obviously hide to post under their real name. So, we don't like pseudonyms in this show. Come on.
I've got access to the Guinness PRO14. No, I'm joking. It's all my own work.
It's not Paul Williams, anyway.
I'm looking forward to having Paul back. My God, there's 3 Grand Slams between all of us on the show, by the way. Sean, I'll just say that.
I take some credit for some part of them all.
And one championship as well.
Yeah, and a championship, correct.
Yeah, I'm. The show us your medals thing. I'm coming out the wrong side of this one, lads. I'm telling you that much.
Yeah.
Right. Can we talk about Tyg Furlong and the ability to hot step like that as a very large human?
Have you seen what Murray Kinsella has done today?
No, what did he do?
He's split screen Phil Bennett doing the 2 dummies for the Barbarians against the All Blacks, right? Dummy, and he's synchronized Tyg Furlong doing exactly the same in the same area of the field. It's very clever. Fair play, Murray. Well done. It was brilliant.
It was fantastic to see, though, isn't it? I genuinely loved it. Of all the stuff that's whizzing around after the weekend on the highlights package, that's the one with the most likes and the retweets and everything else. It's the one everyone's talking about, and long may it continue. It is a game for all shapes and sizes. I love it.
He's an absolute freak of a human, like strong as a horse and like natural farmer strong, as opposed to a guy you see who's like weights strong, and then he goes out and does that. That is ridiculous. As one man on Twitter said to me, it was like a small calf getting his first run on a bit of grass. Just like get straight out there. Roman Poit's physicality, I think we are very impressed with Poit's approach to the game. He left it all out there in the field. He got involved.
I love Roman Part. He's a character. He's a good ref. He's a strong personality. Ryan will have worked with him, and he's well respected by the players. Jug, isn't he? You know, and this is the difference. I think when you've got a Poit, a Nigel Owens, a Wayne Barnes, here he is. He got involved more than once, didn't he? This is it. This is him getting bundled over. This is hilarious, and then he gets stuck in here, doesn't he? Look at him.
I think that's a yellow card. See, he's not supporting his weight there.
Correct.
Mo should have come in there, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
No, it was good. And look, I know I was saying, you know, it was a weird one because I genuinely was so unenthused about some of the Irish performance, but yet some of the individual players I thought were fantastic. Tyke Byrne is having a hell of a championship. Thank you very much. Tyke Byrne's just phenomenal. Thank you very much, Scarlets Rugby. We will reap the rewards, and think the Lions will too in this sort of form. He's just phenomenal.
I tell you another one, mate. It's Robbie Henshaw.
Yeah,
excellent. Really, really good. I think he's just consistently performing now. You got to talk about Henshaw in Lion circles. You have the way Farrell's playing. Jonathan Davis is having to play 12 for Wales. Scotland have chopped and changed a little bit. Now Sam Johnson's come back. Henshaw's holding that 12 shirt, unless Gats wants to play a 10-12, in case he's got a quandary. You know, and now Ringrose is injured, isn't he? So Henshaw's...
Ringrose is also he's having a weird few games. He is making mistakes that Gary Ringrose does not usually make. He is usually so smooth in attack and defense. He's making weird errors right now. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see. Will Connors had another fine game. But we'll move on, I think. We might move on to questions.
Just quick, and what is the debate around Sexton back home? You know, what's the noise there? 10 debate.
It's more that, you know, it's one of these things which we've never really solved the who is the next man up, right? It's Joey Carberry, but we've been without Joey Carberry for a long time, right? So without that, what do? So the Billy Burns thing doesn't seem to be resonating with fans. Ross Byrne hasn't seemed to resonate with fans. Good, very, very good, solid player, but is he international 10? That's the question you'd get. Harry Byrne, younger brother, has he had enough experience to get into an Irish shirt yet? Possibly not, but they had the Italian game as an opportunity to give that, and they said no. You have other players who are still around, like Ian Madigan, but they're not going to be in that circle anymore. They desperately need Carberry to be back, because if you're looking forward to the next World Cup, Jack Carty, great shout. Jack Carty, Connacht, doesn't seem to be man of the hour with Andy Farrell since the World Cup for whatever reason, even though there is a man with a lot of talent. Thank you, Adam Redmond.
The trouble is that the bar's high, isn't it? I think, you know,
that's
the problem. The bar's very high.
You're not trying to replace. You're not trying to step in to sort of, a lad who's had 40 caps.
Yeah.
And being a good, solid international out half. Yeah. This is one of Ireland's 2 best ever out halves, certainly in the pro area.
I think we get a bit of that in Wales, you know. People always say, why isn't Callum Sheedy? Why isn't Jared Evans? Well, it's because Dan Biggs has set the bar really high in what he does. All right, he doesn't make searing breaks and this, that, and the other. He's improved his attacking game, but he does what Wales needs to win Grand Slams. Sorry.
He does. We'll get some of these lovely questions in for Ryan. I'm now in the producer's capable hands, and we'll see what he pops up first. Chiefs girl, player that you hated playing against the most.
It's part of that. The All Blacks was my nemesis team, as there's been many others. So I've played them on the Lions and throughout, but. I did watch Dan Carter's documentary a couple of weeks ago, and he talked around his performance in that second test down in 05, and long before he got paid loads of money to do a documentary, I was saying that's probably the best performance I ever witnessed or have witnessed in my career. I just happened to be on the opposing team and spent 80 minutes chasing shadows and largely behind my own sticks, that. And what I always hated players I couldn't get my hands on, because I didn't mind the physical bit, but the players that were far more talented than I ever was are the ones I hated playing. And Dan Carter for me sort of typified everything that was great around modern rugby. He seemed to have more time on the ball than everyone else, and just pulled all the strings in the greatest team that's ever played the game. So he'd be up there. My favourite match, that's a really tough one. I get this asked all the time, and when you reflect after 6-7 years of being retired, it's difficult to pick one. There's moments, lifting silverware as a captain is magic, like it's to walk down the tunnel first into the stadium, which is a great Millennium Stadium, or Principality as it is now, which is the greatest rugby stadium in the world. It's just magic. I don't miss playing. It hurts. It's really hard, and I don't like the criticism. I used to get after it. I desperately miss the circus that goes with it. I miss the bus ride in. I miss being in the changing rooms. I miss being nervous. I miss being awake after a game, rerunning it, and the horrific things, the mistakes you made and all that. I miss walking out and smelling and seeing the sights of the stadium and hearing the noise. I miss winning. I miss lifting silverware. I miss going out in town with the boys after. I miss the circus that goes with it. Don't miss playing, but and matches and the highs and lows within it. Ulster's on the call now, and we've shared champagne and we've shared tears and we've shared blood and sweat as well, and there's a whole host in there. Winning out in Dublin to win the Pro. What was it? Pro 14, Pro 12. Then was it?
12,
I think.
Yeah, Pro 12.
No, there was no need to throw that in. I'm still not over that one.
The context of that was brilliant, because we turned up and it was noticeable that they'd covered up celebratory signs and posters about winning the double and all this nonsense, and to rock up there and spoil the party was just magic. Really, really, really sweet after. But yeah, the list sort of goes on, and I'm just really fortunate to play in the generation that I did. Really, there's far better players than me that never quite had the career I've had, and that's down to the skill of others mostly, I suppose.
Dai Brownie. Is Hamish Watson too small to go to South Africa with the Lions, or is he a modern day Neil Back? I might go first with that one. Hamish Watson runs angry. He runs with explosivity and violence. It is extraordinary. He's like an NFL running back the way he runs, and never mind the other side of his game, Sean. He's on the plane.
I'll go back to what I said about Scotland, mate. You'll see the real Hamish Watson when he's playing with a load of other real good players. And I'm not being disrespectful to Scotland, but you put Hamish Watson in a team with Alan Wynne-Jones and Jamie George and Tyg Furlong and James Ryan and Justin Tipuric. He's just he won't have to do those things that he's trying to do as action man for Scotland. So he's going to be more fresh and have much more of an impact. I think he's the one, not the one. He's one of the few Scotland players who genuinely has a chance, not in the test team for me, but to be on tour. I don't think he's too small. No, I mean, Christ, he packs a punch, doesn't he, Ray?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The kid's dynamite, isn't he, really? And I think the Lions is about picking players on what they can do, and I think there's enough can do in his game to warrant getting in that squad. As Sean said, I'm not sure he'll, as it stands right now, he'd play in a test, but there's a guy who's gonna could have a big impact on that Lions test format, whatever it is, wherever it's being played. Like, that's the other thing we don't know. So he could play test matches for the Lions, it just might not be against South Africa.
I tell you who was impressing me, before Ryan gets to that, is Tom Curry. Now, there's a Lions test animal for me. He's Sam Warburton-esque. I think he's England's best player. I do. I really do. And they'd be lost without him. Forget Sam Underhill, this guy Curry has come to the fore. He's a potential captain for England for me. If you're looking for an alternative to Farrell, he does what he leads like Sam with what he does on the field, right? If that makes sense. You know what I mean? By his actions rather than his words. So he's a classic. Yeah, is Ewan Davis.
Who's the best player you've played with
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna have to name a couple here for different reasons. My favourite player is Shane. You know, to walk down into a Test match arena with knowing he's in your squad, and the reaction. You know, 14 of us used to know what we were doing, and Shane just used to do whatever he wanted. But the magic he brought when Shane got the ball, the crowd went nuts. The opposition was scared, and you know, no matter where it was in the field, chances are something would happen. He didn't know what he was going to do, and neither did we. But it made for magic. Probably one of the most gifted. There's probably two here that Justin Tipuric is one. You know, I genuinely believe, apart from the front row, he could probably play anywhere on international test field. He'd do your job. He's a wonderful rugby player. You know, he'll go on to be a great coach. Gav is the other one, Gavin Henson. So we talk in all sport, wherever you watch, we talk about players or people, you know, men or women who seem to have more time on the ball, have better control, make things look easy. You know, these are the terms that we use to describe just, you know, mercurial talents. Gav had all of that, and I saw him do it in training, you know, and in matches. And I'm gutted that I don't think the world got to see the best of Gav for a whole host of reasons, and the game would have been better for it.
What is Gavin Henson doing this Sunday at 12:45?
He's on BBC Live, playing for the Welsh West Wales Raiders or something. Playing rugby league. Gav's going to be on live telly on BBC.
He's playing against the Widnes Vikings in the Challenge Cup, aged 39. Phenomenal.
He's in great nick, Gav. He's a lovely boy. You know, good luck to him. Good luck to him.
A question for Ryan, just before we get to them. Why do you think Tipuric would make a great coach?
A couple of reasons. His temperament is, you know, he is, you know, unflappable, but he knows, you listen to, what's the one thing I like about not having crowds in the stadium, when you're there and you listen to the ref's mic, you listen to the level of talk. I encourage everyone. The one person you'll hear talking technically and tactically during a game in the heat of it is Justin Tipuric. So he'd be talking the opposition out of plays. He's talking to his colleagues. He's running the game as it goes, you know, and that comes out of, as I said, his composure, his temperament. He's able to keep a cool head, but then he is a student of the game. He understands rugby. He understands all the nuances. And it's not just limited to his position. So he knows all the tech. He knows all the tactical stuff, and I think he'll go on to become a really, really good coach.
Excellent. Matthew O'Brien, this is your second last question. For Ryan Jones, what did you learn from your fiercest opponent?
Crikey. So probably the toughest opponent I had was Jerry Collins in 05, was just fantastic. As a back rower, and up to that period, he brought physical intensity to the game like no other. But you know, he had a few sides of his personality. But you know, again, there was just this competitive steel to him. You know, and I think again, he was very much, his game was based on what he was good at and what he could do. And I think, you know, we could learn a lot of that. We were guilty as people in the media, we're guilty as coaches and on social media about talking what people can't do and what they can do better and talking people down. And I think when he came, and I was very fortunate to play with him at the Ospreys, it was very much around what you can do. You know, he was limited in his training, his body let him down, but he knew the one or two things he'd bring to a game, and boy did he bring them. And I think I learned a lot there, and I probably wish I'd had that experience a lot earlier in my career and had the confidence to, you know, sort of almost park at times your work ons, which is what we talk about them now. And being a good pro player is working on what all you need to your work ons or your gaps in your skill set. Actually, top flight players make their superpowers even better, you know, and there's enough in the game now that your core skills see through the rest.
Right, remember that, folks. So if you're walking into your performance review with your boss and he gives you a couple of things, tell him you want to concentrate on your superpowers for the next year. We'll see how that goes. Alex,
you can also tell him.
And the numbers aren't wide.
Well, I was going to say, you can also tell him that you choose who you want to work for, and if he doesn't give you a good performance review, you can choose to work for someone else. I'd encourage him to do that as well.
Yeah, yes. Robin there.
Now we're talking. Alex, Rituva, Benetton winger, scored that brilliant try on the weekend. He gains residency for Italy in the summer. He will turn 33 just before World Cup 2023 could certainly do a job. Do you call him up? Sean, I'm directing you this your way.
Well, why not? You know, at the end of the day, 35. The guys from this sort of part of the world, they age rather well, shall we say? And Ratuva spent most of this game carrying the ball one hand, as if he's playing in the park with his kids. And this is a classic example. Look, standing start, knows where the line is, gets in the air, great finish. But he was trouble for the Cardiff Blues for a long period of the game. He's been out a while, but if you look at, it's good camera work again, isn't it, for the Italians? But if you look at his performances for Benetton, he has a ridiculous amount of offloads, a huge amount of try assists, clean breaks, and defenders beaten. He's right up there with Monty Ioane. Look at that. Lovely, isn't it? So why not? I don't think he's going to turn Italy into a winning nation. And you could say that some young players need to come through who are Italian, you know. So, but
Look, I got a real frustration on this whole age thing. So, you know, these are limits and perceptions we put. You know, Alan Wynne Jones is going to be what, 35 this weekend, is he? Or you know, he's 35 now, is he? Or, you know, a guy got 170 odd caps or whatever he's got, 1 million caps, and he's still going. And who are we to tell him that, you know, he's too old to go to another World Cup, or he's too old to go to the Lions, or, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo's banging goals in and assists for fun, you know, and he's, what is he, 38, or, you know, so I just think, I think the numbers, I think the age thing is a red herring. Obviously, all the trends are getting lower. We know that, but if you're good enough, World Cups are about performance. They're not about development. Your development's done when you get a World Cup. It's just got to go.
It's just his position, mate. Like, he plays on the wing, and you know you lose your legs and you get to that sort of 33, 34, which is okay if you're like a workhorse like you with number 8, and we can turn that into a number 4, as we did. But if you're a 14, if you've got double figures on your back, then in a World Cup, you're going to get found out. Imagine he comes up against a Lewis Rees-Zammit. Louis is going to go, thank you very much. So
I'm really intrigued by the fact that that Ryan's stepping in to defend the elderly with a bit of self-talk on the weekend of his 40th birthday.
Yes, wait till you're 50.
There might be a bit of that, yeah. Come to think about it.
I think we'll leave it there. Good luck to Louis Rees-Zammit in the 3:30 in Cheltenham tomorrow on Tuesday. Thank you to Ellis Jenkins. Thank you to Ryan Jones. Ryan Jones, we really enjoyed having you, and I think, judging by the comments, a lot of people did too. So thank you.
He's been excellent, Andy, hasn't he? He's been a very good game. Well done, Jughead. Proud of you as normal. And to all our listeners out there, recommend us to your friends. We want more people joining in.
Yeah, then we can afford other
watch-alongs.
Yeah, other watch-alongs. Yes,
we'll get Ryan along for a watch-along. You'll enjoy them, Jug.
That would be absolutely brilliant. You know, sponsor needed. Thank you, Sean Holley, as always. Thank you, Adam Redmond, behind the scenes and every week, for pulling the show together. We do appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who've given us some of your time tonight, or if you're listening back, doing whatever you are doing in these strange times. That was Under the Sticks, brought to you by Pro14 Rugby. My name is Andy McGeady. Thanks for listening or watching. We'll talk to you soon.
They call me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. I love